Good afternoon. I appreciate everybody coming out today. We'd like to start by thanking the fans that came out to practice today. It created a great environment for our players. To have DJ Yoshi here in the beginning, kind of warming up the whole crowd, was just tremendous. It was a special day for our program. I think every year when you announce your captains, it's a special day because they are the core of your leadership body and your leadership group on your team. And to have Jamal and Jamil Morrell on defense and Brandon Coleman on Gary on offense, it's a great honor for them to be captains, and it's something that I take very seriously. Last year we did it a little bit later in training camp. We actually voted twice, once in the beginning and then once a couple weeks later. This year the voting was so significantly weighted with the top four. I didn't feel there was a need for that. These are certainly the four people that their teammates have chosen to be captains, and I was proud to announce them, and I know they'll do a great job for us this year. It was excellent to have Julie out here at practice today. First time she's had a chance to address our football team, and I know they were excited to see her, and she was genuinely excited to be out here at practice with her son Aiden, and I know they had a great experience today, and hopefully she'll come out more. And finally, the practice itself I thought was excellent. It was great to be in pads. I thought there was some tremendous back and forth. I'm anxious to get inside it and look at it on film. I saw some receivers really do a good job attacking the ball, and I saw some excellent plays by the DBs as well. I think Lou Toller, I believe, is starting to assert himself a little bit in that secondary. I think that is starting to come out over the first three practices. It is only three practices, as with a lot of these players. We're going to need to see a much larger body of work before we make any final decisions, but he continues to look like somebody who has played a lot of football, and that's good for us. Questions?
Kyle, is there anything you can share with what Julie's message was to the team?
It really was about quality of life for the student athlete and support from the athletic department. That was really her message, and I'll leave any more explanation of that to her, but I thought it was a great message and something that our players needed to hear from the athletic director.
Kyle, in terms of having the quarterback a captain, how important is that his teammates think of him that way?
I think it helps, but I think it's important that your captains are people that the teammates think of as captains. And if that is your quarterback is always going to be a position of leadership regardless of whether or not he's the captain. But there probably is a little bit of an added bonus when you realize that his peers do see him genuinely in that role at this early stage. I think it's a good thing.
Any word on Lowry yet? Is it too soon?
I think it's too soon. I would say just from experience it looks like one of those low-high ankle sprains, and it's probably going to be a couple days, but we'll know a little bit more tomorrow.
It's been a while since you had junior captains, too. Comfortable with that? What kind of things?
Brandon Coleman's a fourth-year player, so had he played his first year, he would be a senior by now, so that is not surprising to me. Gary, it really doesn't surprise me either, only because of the position he's in and the amount he played and the type of offseason he had. He's a very strong personality, and I think he had the right message in the offseason, and I think the players saw that.
Kyle, you mentioned Toller and kind of flashing a little bit. What have you seen particularly in his ability?
Well, I see more in his work ethic than anything at this point. He really is a lunch pail, Rutgers-like football player. He's our kind of guy. He comes out here every day and he works his tail off, and he does an excellent job, and certainly is talented. He wouldn't have played that many games if he wasn't talented, but he has the kind of attitude that we like to recruit and we like to instill in the players here at Rutgers.
How's the competition going for the reps behind Savon? Is there a clear pecking order yet?
I think right now there's a pecking order. I think that'll become more clear as we get to that first scrimmage and maybe a little bit beyond that. Certainly Chase is the number 2 right now, Bamonte's the 3, and then you have Blake and Laviano behind that.
Something Huggins.
You said Doug. I apologize.
That's okay. Is there a clear pecking order there?
I would say there's not a clear pecking order running back. To me, we have a lot of guys right now that are vying for the second part of all those carries, and that's where, as we go through training camp, it's going to be critical that we give them enough opportunities to show us what they can do, but at the same time, you got to make sure that you're not doing it at the expense of the rest of your team.
So Carl made a couple plays again. Is he really elevated his game?
Agadosi?
Yeah.
I think he's had an excellent offseason. I think his body type will create issues for defenders if he continues to catch the ball as consistently as he has in the first couple practices here.
At what point will you start to narrow the reps for the quarterbacks? Is that happening? Is that coming soon?
It won't happen until after the first scrimmage for sure, and then we'll have to decide exactly how clear that is after Gary. Who's exactly 2, 3, 4, etc.
Kyle, you mentioned Carlton's body type, but we look at him when we see a tall receiver, but does that almost overshadow the rest of his skill set? Because it seems like he's got good hands.
I think when he came here, he was a tall receiver. I think now he is a tall athletic and strong receiver. I think he's an excellent off-season program in the weight room with Coach Cole and his staff, and I think that shows. He's about 10 to 15 pounds bigger than he was as a true freshman, and he certainly is. He's got to be about 6% body fat at the most, so it's all lean muscle that he put on. And what that does for you is it allows you to run better routes. It allows you to be stronger in the air. It allows you, when the defender does get his hands on you, to not be moved as far as maybe you would be moved if you weren't as strong. And all those things, I think, are what you're seeing out there the first 3 practices. And now he's got to show that he can continue to do it over time.
Got time for 2 more. What types of things can you do because Jamil Morrell is so versatile on the defensive line?
I don't know that we do anything different. I think it gives him the ability probably to play 2 positions for us, which he has in the past. But we play our defense. We don't change our defense because of any player. We've got a good system of defense, and Jamil fits into it perfectly. So I think his skill set fits into our defense perfectly. So there's really nothing different that we need to do because of him.
What makes you say he fits in perfectly?
He's a strong, athletic, high-motor defender, and that's what we want on the defensive line. We've never played defense here with 300 and 320-pound defensive tackles. It's just not the way we do it because of what we ask them to do. And his role at 255, 260 pounds, he fits into it.
Kyle, do you say anything to the guys about the practice about not paying too much attention to the fans, not being too aware that they're out there, or do you want them to so competitive?
I want them to enjoy the day, but I want them to really be 2 things. The class of college football and focused on what we have today. We play probably in front of a couple hundred people today, and we're certainly going to play in front of more of that on game day. So I think the players at this level, they're not going to be distracted by people being around them. I think they're used to that when they play. But at all times when we play, whether there's 5 people or 500 people in the stands or 50,000 or 80,000, we want to make sure that we carry ourselves like the class of college football.